In this video, you learn how to use Locofy to create a responsive content section and add it to your existing application. Currently, we have our application already running locally without our content section, as you can see. However, we need to add our custom section to it, which is currently just a design in Figma. Let's take a look at our section in Figma. This is the section we'll be adding to our existing application. But before we can add it, we need to make it responsive. To make our section responsive, we'll first have to run the Locofy plugin and follow the step-by-step flow presented in the plugin. The first step is to optimize our design with a design optimizer. The design optimizer will scan your frames and suggest fixes to handle bad groups, inconsistent alignment, and responsiveness. To optimize our design, we click on the Fix button. The optimizer has fixed our design and let us know that it's almost ready. It suggests some fixes that we can apply. To apply these fixes, we click on Fix All. The optimizer has applied auto layout to our design. However, it has identified that our design is not responsive. It suggests clicking View Fix Options to see how we can make it responsive. Note that you can choose to ignore these fixes. In our case, we will click the View Fix Options. We are presented with a live preview that shows us the fixes the optimizer has performed. It also provides a toggle button to see the fixes it has made. Upon toggling, we can see that when we apply Fill Container, our frame becomes responsive. Without the Fill Container property, our design is unresponsive. Since we want our design to be responsive, we click the button again and confirm the fix to apply it. The optimizer tells us that all issues with our design have been fixed. We can click on Done with this screen and then Done Fixing Designs button to proceed. The second step is to tag the elements, which will make our static elements interactive by giving them the appropriate HTML tags when we preview and export the code via Locofy. In our design, we want to make the main recent story card interactive by making it a link. To do this, we can select our frame and click on the tag button. In the Tag Interactive Elements window, we tag it as a link and set the URL to hash. To make other elements interactive, we can repeat this tagging process. Finally, we click on Done and Done again to conclude our tagging process. The third step is to edit the styling and layout of our elements based on the different states, such as hover and pressed, as well as different breakpoints. First, let's click on Edit. This step allows us to set up what should happen to our designs at different screen sizes. Let's preview our design to see if it's responsive. From what we can see, our design is responsive and needs no editing. If there are other things to edit at different screen sizes, we can utilize this step. Let's click on Close Preview and then Done. The fourth step is to add on-click actions. Let's click on Add. This step allows us to add on-click events. However, we won't be adding any using Locofy in our case. If you need to add actions like opening a pop-up or toggling a drawer, this step will come in handy. In our case, we simply click on Done. The fifth step is to sync our design to the builder. To sync our design to the Locofy builder, we click on the Sync button. In this window, we choose the frames we want to export. In our case, we only have one frame, so we select it and click on View Code in Builder to start the syncing process. Finally, click on View Code in Builder to be redirected to the builder. This is the Locofy builder. Here we will continue working on our project. We are also introduced to the sixth step. The sixth step is to create reusable components with props. To do this, we click on the Create button. The builder Locofy.ai suggests one component. We can check it out and make any necessary adjustments in the model. In our case, we accept the instances and click Dismiss. To make the recent story section a component, we click on it and then click on Make Component button. We can change the name if desired, but in our case, the name seems good, so we click on Create. Using this approach, you can create as many components as you want. Now that we are done creating components, let's go back to all settings. The seventh step is to configure our code. We click on the Configure Code button. Here, we can adjust various properties from meta tags to framework settings. Feel free to make the necessary adjustments. In our case, everything looks good, so we can go back to all settings. The final step is to sync, export, deploy. First, let's click on the Sync, Export, Deploy button. We are presented with several options. You can choose any that fit your requirements. In our case, we want to sync the components we have made with our existing application. We click on the Sync Components button. In the model, we need to connect our builder to our GitHub account if we haven't already. Then we choose the repository we are working with. In our case, we select the existing repository. Next, we choose the branch we are working with. We choose the main branch and click on Confirm Repo and Branch. Here, we select the components we want to sync with the main app. We notice some conflicts and click on the Resolve Conflicts button. We see that the global.css files are different. To resolve the issue, we accept the GitHub change on the left and mark it as resolved. Finally, we click on the Complete Merge and Push button to merge our components to GitHub. Now that we have merged our components to our application, we need to use them in our local application. In our local machine, in VS Code, we open the terminal and perform a git pull to update our local files. New components have been added to the components folder. Expanding it reveals our recent story section component and other components. We can now add this to our main page. We navigate to the main.js file in the pages folder, import the component and use it wherever we want. Our component is now working in our existing application. This is how you can create a custom section component, sync it to your repository, and use it in your existing apps with Locofy.ai.